we're going to move on to our topic of the week, and Crawley alluded to it. It is our Mount Rushmore. We did this once before, and we did it with our rival teams. So we looked at the cities of the Reds, Bengals, and those two franchises, and we looked at the rivals, and we came up with that city's Mount Rushmore. So we decided to do a true Mount Rushmore where we had the United States broken up into the divisions. We had the West, we had the South, we had the Midwest, and then the East. And we had a whole bunch of different cities in there. And we had to go with the big four sports teams. So basketball, baseball, football, and hockey. Those were the four that we had to choose from. And we had to come up with our 4 Mount Rushmore people from the region. And what we're going to try to do here is we'll go around and we'll give like our first one, and we'll just circle around to that, and then we'll see where we were, as far as debating how difficult it was, those type of things, and then we'll put it to a vote on which region has the best Mount Rushmore. So Sam, since you are our guest and you had the East, correct?
I did have the East, yes.
All right, so the East cities, we had New York, Boston, Philly, Buffalo, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and D.C.
Mm-hmm. So you're still making my first one?
Yeah, so if you, I don't know how you want to do it. If you want to go like the fourth one that you put on there, or if you want to save that for drama, I mean, you can do that. I don't, you pick however you want to do
your best one, so they don't get stolen.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yes, because that is right. If there is somebody that has played in multiple regions and somebody steals them, you got.
Well, my first one, he was always in the East. He never left the East, and I was really looking at not putting him on it because I just think that old time baseball players is just like, I don't know really how much of an athlete some of them are, but my number one is Babe Ruth, which is, you can make a case it's not an athlete, but like he's baseball's all-time leader in WAR, has a lot of home runs, so Babe Ruth is my number one.
All right. It's good. It's a good one. So Sam, the other Sam, you had the South. So that was Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, Tampa, Miami, Orlando, Jacksonville, Nashville.
Yeah, I'm just glad we decided to put Texas in here. Otherwise, it would have been kind of rough.
All right. Your number one.
Yeah, my number one. We'll go to San Antonio, Texas. We'll go with greatest power forward of all time. I'm going to take Tim Duncan. Put Tim Duncan on there.
Interesting. And Charlie had the West. He elected to go for the West. And that's LA, San Francisco, San Diego, Phoenix, Denver, Seattle, Portland, Salt Lake City, and Oakland. So who's your number one out of that region?
I'm going to go with Jerry Rice.
Good choice. Good choice. All right. And I had that left me with the Midwest, Homerville. So I had Kansas City, Detroit, Cincy, Minneapolis, Indy, Cleveland, Chicago, St. Louis, Milwaukee / Green Bay. And I had to go with Michael Jordan as my number one overall. That's a no-brainer for me. All right. So number two there, Mr. Frank.
Number two, I'm going Tom Brady. Self-explanatory. Yeah, probably should have done my number one, but
if it wasn't going to be your one or two, Sam was going to snag it.
I was going to take him. If you didn't take him right there, I was going to take him.
Because he played with Tampa Bay.
So.
Yep.
2 years.
Hey, won a Super Bowl.
I was going to take him.
I was going to say, could every region have taken him? He grew up in the West. Yeah. He went to school in the Midwest.
Oh. All right, Sam, who's your number two then?
My number two, I put him on here solely because he's a two-sport athlete. He played both sports in this region. I'm going Deion Sanders on primetime.
All right. Interesting, but good. Charlie, you're number two.
I'm going to take Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, maybe the greatest college basketball player ever, and obviously a top 5 NBA player ever. So, and both from the West. I'm saying UCLA and the Lakers.
You are correct. All right. My number two, we're going a little homer biased here. And probably the greatest catcher of all time, Mr. Johnny Bench. All right. So, Mr. Frank, you're number three.
My number three is Bill Russell.
Bill Russell. All right, good choice. Good choice. Sam, you're number 3.
My number 3 is going to be Dwayne Wade, Miami Heat.
Okay.
Well, Frank has championships locked up.
Yes,
That's
yes, he
just
does.
those three.
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
Pick no one, just based on championships. It's locked down. My number 3 is, again, I think a top 5 baseball player of all time. Pretty much always played in the West, and that's Willie Mays.
Well, you played in the
But
East.
to see how long he was a New York Giant wasn't long enough to make my list.
And he was a New York Met for a year.
Right.
Yeah, and that was not a good year for him.
Right.
That was
the
not
end.
a good year.
Yeah.
No.
He was a San Francisco Giant. That's what he's known.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but he's known for the catch. All right, so my number 3. This is could be controversial. I don't know, but when you are dubbed Mr. Hockey, it's they look at you as like one of the best hockey players ever, and that would be Gordie Howe of Detroit Red Wings. I went with Gordie.
My number 4
Yes.
is also hockey. Alex Ovechkin, second all-time in goals, about to break Gretzky's record. So, had to go there.
Sounds good. And other Sam, who do you have for your number 4?
I still haven't decided. I have it down to 2 people. I'm going to do a quick little research here real quick. Because one guy, I'm not sure how long his professional tenure in the South actually was. Hank Aaron is who I'm thinking. But I don't know
Yeah, you can give him the
how long
South.
he was in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Say South.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go Hank Aaron. We'll take Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron. That's a good one. Crawley, your last one?
Yeah, I had the same thing as Sam. I kind of came down to I had 3 names actually that I was debating on, kind of going around, and I decided to go with a guy who's because most of what we have. Do we have anybody that's current? I mean, Ovechkin is current, but I don't know if anybody else has a current player. Correct?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Brady would have been the
Yeah, but he's not. So
right.
So that's what I decided to go this way. Current player, change the game. Everybody thinks they can play basketball now because they can shoot 3-pointers from 50 feet away. So I went with Steph Curry. Came down to him versus Magic versus who was my other guy? Oh, Joe Montana. But I looked at it as current, and I looked at it as who really changed the game. So then it came down to really Magic versus Curry, and I'm going.
Okay. Well, they can't call you old timer then. So I did not go with a current player, which I could have. But this, the fourth one was probably, it was difficult because there's some names on here that, I'm like, do I go another football player? Do I go another basketball player? Do I go another baseball player? And as I was going through this exercise, I was like, we probably could have done a Mount Rushmore based off of geography, but just based off of each sport too. Because I think we could have really had that. And then we could have came back and said, we'll do our big Mount Rushmore, and we have to pick one from each of those 4, which
Hockey's not real strong in the West, by the way.
Or the South.
Or the South, but you got you do have a couple teams there.
I thought of one player's name,
but
that was even made my list.
But like Crawley, we talked about this earlier.
Yeah, but we said Gretzky didn't count for the West, so I didn't. You specifically said that, so I wasn't.
Well, I just
so I wasn't going to go with. So I
if
didn't.
You said
even
Wayne
think of
Gretzky, I would have said he's an Oiler.
Well, that's what I mean. That's
That's
what we were saying.
The West, though, is it not? Like Edmonton's out west.
It is technically.
Yes,
like,
but
that's West Canada. Like
I didn't think we were talking Canada.
That's right, Mount Rushmore's. No Canadians.
Good point.
So yeah, I did not. Right. If I could have included Gretzky, I would have put Gretzky on my list. But we had decided he didn't count for the Kings. He only counted for the Oilers.
All right. So mine, it came down to. I'll just go ahead and say it. I went with Stan the Man Musial, and it was, I could have went with Pete Rose. I know I left Pete Rose off, but when I did a comparison between really Rose played more games, had more hits, and that was about it. Musial's WAR was 50 points higher than Rose. His batting average was 20 points higher. Career batting average was 20 points higher. 24-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, MVP, 7-time batting title, beat Rose there. So I went with Stan the Man, left off quite a few. I mean, in the Midwest, and I was like, who? But let's go ahead and name a couple that you left off, Frank, who you were like really debating, like you could have put them in there to say, maybe this guy, we should take that guy's place or something like that.
Well, having the Yankees, there's like 20 of them.
Right.
But
Yeah, you
outside
could
of
have
the
just had
Yankees,
Yankees.
I could have. Larry Bird it was difficult for me to leave Larry Bird off. And then Ted Williams, difficult for me to leave Ted Williams off, especially with him missing 3 of his prime years.
Right.
Serving in World War II. Like, who knows what those numbers could have been, but I was really looking for a reason to not include Babe Ruth, but I'm like, I just can't. So they made the cut. And then, like, I didn't want to put Tom Brady, but, you have to. So.
Yep, you did. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I left off some Cowboy options. I went with Dion just because he was the two-sport athlete. But, I mean, Emmitt Smith, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, those are all names I think Cowboys fans would have thrown out there. But I also just don't like the Cowboys, so that plays part of it. I mean, some of these cities that you gave me, like, I don't even think they could do a Mount Rushmore themselves. Like Jacksonville, like, not gonna put David Garrard on here, like
Fred Taylor.
Fred Taylor, sure.
Who was the tackle? Tony Baselli?
Oh, Baselli, yeah. I guess he is a Hall of
Mark
Famer,
Brunell.
Mark Brunell. Yeah.
But yeah, my 5th spot, I had Greg Maddux. I was going back and forth between him and Hank Aaron. So Maddux is probably the toughest one that I left off, I think.
You didn't have, you had Chipper Jones on there too. You could have had, Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah. I wrote Wilkins' name down as well.
A couple other,
yeah, I mean,
Steve
New Orleans
Bartkowski,
is pretty. New Orleans is pretty thin. I mean, outside of Drew Brees, they don't have a whole lot.
I mean, yeah, that would have been your best one. Would have been Drew Brees,
Pistol Pete Maravich in college, but yeah, Arch Manning, Archie.
Right, but you look at his stats, and you're like,
it's horrible. I know.
You're a legend because of your sons, not because of you.
Yeah.
All right, Crowley, what about you?
Yeah, I said my big ones were Magic, and I mean, he was another one who kind of saved NBA. Kind of went back and forth between him and Curry. And then I had, who was the other one I had said? Montana, Joe Montana. Who, was Brady before Brady in terms of winning. He never lost the Super Bowl. So there's not a lot of guys who can say that have won multiple Super Bowls as quarterback. So he was mine. A lot of Lakers, Kobe, Shaq. I mean, there was plenty of, when you have the Lakers in just like when you have the Yankees or you have in your region, you can kind of go back to that well over and over again. Jerry West, the logo. So then like Karl Malone, Stockton, those guys.
Sean Kemp, Gary Payton.
Jokic is making a name.
Yeah, Jokic is making a name.
He's trying.
So mine, I mean, I think this would probably have been I don't know. I mean, the West was pretty hard. I think Frank's, yours was probably really hard. I mean, as far as, narrowing it down, that 3-4. Because, I mean, like I said, you could put Gehrig, you could have put Jeter, you could have put
Mickey Mantle. I even looked at Mariano Rivera for a second because I'm like, that guy had crazy numbers during the steroid era. I'm like, I'm not putting a bullpen pitcher.
Yeah. And then you got, then you got the Celtics, the Sixers, with Dr. J. I mean, just a lot of
even like
there.
Mike Schmidt. I thought about Mike Schmidt. I thought about like Cal Ripken.
Yeah. And you go hockey, I mean, you go Bobby Orr. I mean, probably besides Gretzky. So yeah, and you got and you had Pittsburgh. I mean, you could have put Clemente. People like that. It's tough. Mine came down to, like I said, I mean, I left off Rose, Morgan, Munoz, Bo Jackson, Jim Brown, LeBron James. Right? I mean, some people are probably saying Brent James should be on there. Oscar. If we want to, Manning. I mean, there were some names that I was like, wow, this could be tough for that 4th one. And, I didn't want to be a homer. I didn't want to put 2 Reds. I could have put 3 Reds on there if I wanted to. But that would
have been really homer.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, because Pete Rose would have been about number 15th on my list For what
Yeah.
the guys you just named, I would have put almost every one of those guys before I would put Pete Rose.
Pete Rose, yeah.
I would have put Peyton Manning there. I would have put. I mean, you didn't even name any Packers.
No, because I have Favre and Rodgers and Lombardi down. I don't know. I mean, it was difficult.
Barry
coming up with-
Sanders.
Yeah, Barry Sanders.
Reggie
Ty
White.
Cobb, for crying out loud. I mean,
Ty
I could have put
Cobb,
Ty
yeah.
Cobb on there. Isaiah Thomas, right? I mean, but I went with just one basketball. I was trying to go with one, see if I could hit one of all of them, but it came down to that football one. Was I going to put Barry Sanders or Anthony Munoz? But I elected to go with Stan Musial instead. So that's where I was at on that. All right, thoughts on your region or anybody else's region? Who do you think won the draft? Just looking
Not
at
me. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with my first three. Those came to me right away. And
Yep.
if you have Mays, Kareem, and Rice, you have top. I mean, Rice is probably considered the second greatest NFL player ever. Kareem's third, probably on most lists. Willie Mays is third, probably on most lists. So that's where I would put that up. The fourth one definitely was with those different guys. So that's where I'd put my list up at.
Ronk, what about you?
I mean, I'm happy with my guys, I guess. I mean, I don't like Tom Brady as a person, but I wouldn't be mad if he was my quarterback.
Right. You'd like him a lot better if he was the Bengals quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure I'd like Babe Ruth a lot better if he was currently like the Reds designated hitter.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, it was interesting for sure. I'm happy with my picks though.
Yeah, like I said, I'm happy with I mean, Jordan was a no-brainer. Bench was pretty much a no-brainer. And then, Gordie Howe, he was the best hockey player in the region. And then it came down to my last one. And I could have went, I didn't have a football player on there. Maybe I should have. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know who I probably would have went.
I mean, shoot, you could have went Mahomes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could have, but I wouldn't put him above. I mean, yeah, I
think he's the second best quarterback ever already.
Close, yeah. I like Montana better, but
yeah,
it is what it is. Different era.
Yeah, I mean, the South was pretty tough, especially looking at it, Mount Rushmore. There's not a lot of historical teams in the South. A lot of them are pretty recent. 70s and on. I don't have the 1940s where the myth and the legend has built up for a lot of these guys, outside of maybe the Cowboys, and I'm just not going to do Cowboys. So,
right. That would have been that would have been the team you could have drawn.
Yeah.
Separate players.
Because, I mean, the rest of them they're all.
What about Dan Marino?
Yeah.
I thought about Marino. If he'd have won, I think I would have put him on there. I think I would have pulled the trigger on it, but I don't even think Marino's number one in his own city. I don't think he's number one in Miami. I think Dwayne Wade is. So I think if I was going to pull somebody from Miami, which I ended up doing, I pulled Dwayne Wade. I think that's, if we put this up for a vote, I think that's what's going to hurt me is my guys are a little too recent.
Yeah. You could have, Duncan's a good choice. He's a good choice. If you had two basketball players, the third basketball player, you could have went with, Elijah Wan, right?
Yeah, I had Elijah Wan. I had Shaq on here too. I mean, could have went Shaq too.
Right. I mean, yours
was
more basketball heavy, I think, and football heavy.
Football only because of the Cowboys, though. There's teams, but the Dolphins historically suck. So do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and so did the Jaguars.
You could have put Don Shula on there.
Yeah, I could have went with a coach, I guess.
You could have went coach, but
I could have gone exclusively coaches. I could have thrown Popovich on there too, and Cox from the Braves.
Yeah, Cox from the Braves.
Coach K.
Coach K.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Coach K.
That's college basketball. So
that is college basketball, but yeah. And
then, Bill Belichick in North Carolina.
That's right.
Yeah, now he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this thing up and land the plane here. So. We appreciate you hanging on, listening to us here. If you wanted, we're going to get this out on our social media platforms, so be looking at it. And, go ahead and vote. Let us know which one of us came away with the best Mount Rushmore. And if you think you can come up with something better from each of the region, go ahead and submit that too. And we'll read them on the air. And we may even bring you on to debate us about why yours is better than ours. So for Sam Squared, Charlie, I am Dave. And until next time, everybody take care.
See you later.